Good morning, and thank you for having me, and congratulations to you for organizing this conference. I come from a discipline that stands much compromised today. In fact, a lot of my friends wondered if I should even bother to come and speak about public relations. You know what I'm talking about. There's been a huge controversy over the telecom scam in which PR agencies have played a role. But then I thought that it was time to maybe come and talk to people and say, look, this is not a fixer's business, that in fact it can be a business that makes a difference. And some of the things I've been involved in have made a difference, as far as I can tell. I came here in '87. There was one TV channel. There were 2 model cars. Phones didn't work. And since then, things have changed dramatically. And luckily, maybe we were lucky, we were involved in every one of these changes. So I'm going to give you 3 examples of how you can change public debate and change entrenched ideas, mindsets, and vested interests. So, and I must also say that since '87 was the year that we established the first. I used to work on Rajiv Gandhi's campaign. So there was a lot of talk that Mr. Desai fixed it because he knows the Prime Minister. But not even once in any interaction I've had with Rajiv, or I had with Rajiv, did we ever bring up the issue of Pepsi. So it was done by just defeating mindsets, demonstrating vested interest, and just see what's happened after Pepsi entered in 1988. There's been a boom. Obviously, there's been a huge growth in the soft drinks business, but there's been a huge growth in ancillary businesses like advertising, sports promotion. I just can't think. They even in cricket. What's happening? I think it also had an impact on sports and the kind of support that not only Pepsi but other soft drinks companies and other consumer companies that came in after that provided to Indian sport. So, for example, Indian cricket achieve heights that we couldn't even dream of in the past. So that was the Pepsi story. And one of the issues that was always raised certainly in the Pepsi case was some sort of a pseudo-nationalistic response to international firms seeking to do business in India. After once all the sort of muck didn't stick, that there were a CIA front and all of this sort of stuff, then the question became of relevance. Do we need soft drinks in India when we don't have enough water to drink and so forth? So, but all of these are sort of vested mindsets, which are exploited by vested interests to keep things from happening. Now, I'm not saying that, if without Pepsi, we may have failed as a nation or anything of that sort, but I think that with Pepsi, with the increase in choice, with the increase in the entire consumer business, I think millions of new jobs were created, hundreds of thousands of opportunities in advertising, in sport, in all kinds of fields that nobody even dreamed of. So that was the Pepsi issue. We had a similar kind of situation with Citibank. This was in the year 1989. The local management of Citibank It was one of the brightest guys, headed by one of the brightest guys I've ever met in my life. His name was Jerry Rao. He was tasked by the international management that you have to introduce consumer banking franchise into India. And it was a hell of a big job, because at the time, all the thinking on banking in India was dominated by social banking. And all the banks were mostly public sector banks, and nobody even heard, even in '88, of credit cards, leave alone ATMs or mortgages or anything of that sort. And in that kind of a situation, how do you introduce this sort of an idea, which was at the time revolutionary? He said, John Reed, who was the chairman and CEO of Citibank globally, said that he wanted a Citibank to be on every street corner in India. And it was a joke, because there were all kinds of restrictions against establishing branches. There were all kinds of restrictions against importing things, for example, the ATM technology, or any of that stuff. And then there was this whole mindset that they'd never heard of consumer banking. So we were tasked with trying to make the idea palatable among the policymakers. It was a very tough call, because the Reserve Bank, and that's where we started with intelligence. And one of the things our research showed us, that of all the policymakers in the banking sector in India, they hated private banks, they hated private international banks more, they hated private American banks even more, and they hated Citibank the most. So how do you even talk to these people? This was our surveys showed this. How do you talk to these people? Well, sometimes in our business, an opportunity presents itself, or you create an opportunity and take it. And it happened with us that very year, because the U.S. Commerce Department put out an advisory saying that under their new law, Super 301, India was an unfair trader in global trade. And that's where we saw an opportunity. The thing was that Citibank had actually been in India since 1902. But everybody thought it was a Johnny-come-lately and all these fancy ideas which don't belong in our India. So we used this opportunity. The local management persuaded their head office in New York to file a petition to the Indian Commerce Department, to the U.S. Commerce Department, saying, look, we've done business in India since 1902, and we found India a very fair and rewarding place to do business. When they made that petition to the U.S. Commerce Department, we played it here in the media. It made the front page of every single newspaper that you can think of. And suddenly, we found that mindsets changed, because Citibank to U.S., India is a fair trader. Citibank nixes U.S. commerce, all kinds of stuff. So Citibank became established as an Indian player, and then we also ran a bunch of campaigns, advertising and so forth, that emphasized the point